In March of 2023, we flew from cold and cloudy Hamburg, Germany over to warm and sunny Miami, Florida. For the first 3 nights, we stayed in the Icon residences in the downtown neighborhood of Brickell for a little bit of fun and a little bit of work. It was a great place to stay. It had a kitchen and an amazing pool and gym area, and it was just the right mix of work and fun. But we also happened to be staying there when the model and on-off boyfriend of tech billionaire Peter Thiel was found dead after somehow either falling or jumping from his balcony. It was not a pretty sight. In that sense, we were happy when it was finally time to leave the building and head over to the port to board the Royal Caribbean Symphony of the Seas for a record-breaking transatlantic voyage. One great thing about staying in Brickell is the cruise port is really only like a 15-minute drive away. However, once we got there, we realized this was not going to be a smooth embarkation. I'm Morgan from the very unofficial travel guides. I travel all around the world to popular and not so popular tourist destinations to give you a very honest, unofficial look at what it's like to be there. I also wrote a book called Getting Stitches on a Cruise Ship, filled with incidents that have happened to me around the world, including getting stitches on a cruise ship, very similar to this one. So if you like to hear about things going right and horribly wrong while traveling, check out Getting Stitches on a Cruise Ship. When we arrived at the port of Miami, there were so many people there and the noise level was unbelievably high.
Listen to how loud it is here. That's the atmosphere you have to be ready for. It's a big hustle bustle, but it's kind of like that every time.
Every other time I've boarded an Oasis-class ship, the process has been very smooth and streamlined, but this was much, much different, and we found out why just a little bit later. We arrived shortly before noon, and I was shocked to see that people who had a boarding time of 10:30 a.m. were still waiting in line outside the terminal. It took us about 45 minutes from the time we got to the back of the huge line until we actually entered the building. By the way, check out this amazing moving sculpture in the Royal Caribbean terminal. Cool, right? It was a nice distraction before getting up the escalator and coming around the corner to the next pile of chaos. Here's the factor that caused all the problems. At the moment, for basically every Royal Caribbean cruise, you do not need a corona test. However, you do need one for transatlantic cruises. That's something that apparently a ton of passengers didn't realize, and instead of having 2 separate areas for people with a test and people without a test, we were all fed into one huge hall where they then weeded out who was who at the front of all these lines. This was not efficient or even really understandable, to tell you the truth. Marcus and I had both done our test the day before, so once we finally got up to the front of our line, we got through that checkpoint pretty quickly, only to go around the corner and wait in another line for the bag check. Eventually, about an hour and 20 minutes after we arrived at the port, we made it onto this amazing ship and found our cabin. Oh, Marcus, look at this. Somebody sent us some surprises. How on earth did you know I like red wine? Duh, I was like, wow, this looks different than our cabin on the Wonder, but it's because on the Wonder we had a junior suite, and this is just a standard balcony cabin, but still, I'm not complaining. This is very nice. And who did this? Who's responsible for this? Thank you very much. There's no card or anything, so whoever it is who ordered these bottles of wine for us, really, thank you so much. That's gonna be a nice little treat to enjoy during the cruise. And honestly, you're allowed to bring 1 bottle of wine per passenger. And Marcus and I, we both had 2 bottles of wine in our backpacks and nobody checked. So now, not only do we have these fantastic wines to peruse during our 12-day journey, but we also have 4 more. Okay, we are going to run out and do the muster drill thing now. It's still sort of a hybrid thing where you do some of it in the app and then you just have to check in at your station, and then I'm pretty sure we're gonna end up someplace where there's food. The Symphony of the Seas is not only one of the biggest cruise ships in the world, they also offer the biggest croutons in the world. What is this? We just got back to the cabin after doing a little bit of exploring in the ship, and there is another surprise here. Who did this? Oh, it's the wrong cabin number. Well, what do we do now? What would you do? Let me know in the comments below.